Welcome to the Speak Your Truth podcast. I am your host, Jaya Rose. I am a brand growth coach specializing in storytelling, speaking, and creating your sacred signature offer, attracting soul fans into your business who love you, support you, and want to buy from you. And today's episode is a bit of a relaunch. This is actually the 76th episode of this podcast, but if you've been following the journey and been listening for the last year and a half, you know that we've had a couple name changes. I have pivoted and also rebranded, and I just want to take a moment to introduce the Speak Your Truth movement, to introduce the Speak Your Truth podcast, and really chat with you for a minute about pivoting, about moving in the direction of your soul path and doing your sacred work sort of out loud. Because there is this cookie cutter idea that in the online space, you need to have your niche, you need to have it perfect. And it's true that those things are helpful. I 100% love those things. And the reality is that clarity comes through action. And that action sometimes looks messy, and we can't predict the future, but we can move forward knowing that we are going in the right direction. And that's what I've done. And so if you've been listening to the podcast, you know that, like I said, we've had a couple different names, but the name now is Speak Your Truth. And I want to share with you what that means to me. I have arrived at Speak Your Truth and created what I call a movement out of it, because at the core of everything I do, everything I teach, it comes from your truth, whether it's your story, your message, the content you create, or the offer that you put into the world. It comes from a deep level of truth within you. And when you embody that and you use that as leverage to be more confident in the world, amazing things happen. So I have a personal mission here with the Speak Your Truth movement to help as many mission-driven, impactful leaders who are transformational in nature, who help people create change in their life, own their message, own their story, and show up more powerfully in the marketplace through authenticity and through being truly their most powerful self. And that's what I love to talk about. That's what we're going to be talking about here on the podcast. A couple things that may be new and different is that I am going to be putting out 2 podcasts a week. And one reason is because it's actually just better for distributing content. So if you have a podcast, I recommend doing this. It was something I just wasn't really ready to commit to before, but podcasts will be coming out Tuesdays and Thursdays. Tuesdays will be a lesson or an interview, and then Thursdays will be a 5-minute truth bomb. So make sure you check back and keep updated on the podcasts that I'm putting out. And I also want to share with you this idea of a movement. It's something that came into my awareness in a really big way over the last year. And I just want to ask you this question. Do you see your work in the world resonating more with being a business or being a movement? And it can be both, okay? It can definitely be both, but you don't have to create a movement. Like, it can just be a business, and that's totally fine. But when you are doing work that feels like your purpose, when you are coming at it from the viewpoint of a mission and a calling, you're using your intuition, there's a really cool thing that happens when you look at actually creating a movement out of your work. And what that means is that you're asking other people to adopt your mission and your vision. And it means that you need to be really clear on these things. So I'm going to be recording some podcasts around this for you. But the first thing I have people do in my Embodied Brand Academy is go through their vision and to create a vision statement. And this starts to lead you down the road of being more than just a business, but having a vision that asks people to join it, creates this idea of a movement. Now, there's multiple things. The other thing we talk about are values, really understanding what your values are, because in this day and age, we expect this from a business. I will tell you that I look for a vision statement, a mission statement, a value statement on people's website. At this point, in my knowing, in how much I know, I can't just spend money with somebody if I don't even know where they stand on social issues, on racial issues, on global issues. And this is really important to me. So another really valuable thing that happens when you decide what your values are and you're willing to stand in those as a company and create more of what we're talking about here, a movement, well, then you attract people who actually want to do bigger things in the world. Doesn't it feel good to think about attracting people who actually care about the same things as you? I know for me, when I get on a sales call with somebody, when I attract somebody into one of my programs or working with me in my VIP one-on-one, it is very important that we are aligned on these issues that I just talked about, on social justice, on the environment, because I am going to better be able to support somebody if I also believe in their mission and their message. And it's not being discriminatory, or people say like, oh, but then am I going to be leaving people out, or am I creating division? And I say, heck no, because the reality is you are not for everybody. You are not for everybody, and you don't need to be for everybody. I truly believe, and part of my mission and part of the Speak Your Truth movement is all about the idea that your truth, your message, your story is medicine. So if we think about it in terms of this, in terms of medicine, and you were in a lab and you were putting all of these components together in order to create something that was super valuable and potent for somebody, not for everybody. Can you think of any medicine that's distributed, whether it's an herbal medicine or whether it is, an over-the-counter medicine that is for everybody? Does that even make sense? The more clear you are about medicine and why you're taking it, the better results you're going to get, the more healing you're going to have. And so thinking about your message and your story and your mission in this way becomes actually so much more valuable for the people. So if we're concocting this potent, concoction of medicine, then don't we want to know exactly who it's for? Don't we want to be clear about that? And that is not about leaving anybody else. In fact, it's actually about being inclusive. It's about including the people and letting the people know who could benefit from your medicine, that you got them, that you're available, that you are here and ready to support them. And so I just love to talk about that, especially as we talk about social justice. I talk about that a lot in my Facebook group on Facebook. I talk about it on TikTok too. I want everybody to know where I stand, because I am here to create an inclusive environment, an inclusive community, and also to leverage my white privilege. This is something I like to talk about a lot. So if that's not something that you're interested in, then you're not going to get the most out of my work. So this is how I want you to think about it. If you're not being explicitly clear on what your vision and what your values are, then are people actually getting the most out of your work? Because I personally want to be able to express all facets of my passions and have them received. Because what is the point of putting them out into the world if they aren't received and actually creating an impact? So being explicitly clear is what creates that potential and that medicine. And so this, all I just touched on here was I didn't even get into storytelling and messaging and all that goodness, because that is going to be another episode. But just reinforcing that if you are in a place where you're wanting to go to the next level in terms of attracting soul fans into your business, in terms of making more money and doing it in a way that feels really intentional and conscious, then take this opportunity to create a clear vision statement. Look at what your values are and get really serious about them and embodied in them. And if you're liking this conversation, well, you are going to love this podcast. We're going to be talking more about these things, the vision, the values, also talking about storytelling, the strategic angles of storytelling, but also the soulful, heartfelt aspect of storytelling, which has to do truly with owning the value of your own story. And then I also love to talk about messaging and really talking directly to your soul fans and creating the type of offer that people want, that the people who you've been asking to come into this journey, you've been asking them to support this mission. And now you're creating a solution-based offer for them. I call it a sacred signature offer. And you can see how when you are creating an online brand, this is a journey. So the journey that you need to go on as the transformational leader to become really well known for what you do, but more importantly than that, create a big impact, is to have the clarity on these pieces. And that's what I'm here to help you do. So whether you come into one of my programs and you work with me, or you work with me in my VIP one-on-one program, or the Embodied Brand Academy, or my Sacred Signature Offer program, I want you to get a lot out of this podcast. So when you put your headphones in and you could click play, be ready, be open to deepening the relationship with your own movement, with creating momentum, and with ultimately attracting more soul fans to you. So if that's what you're here for, you're in the right place. Again, episodes will come out Tuesdays and Thursdays. Look for Speak Your Truth with Jaya Rose, and you can subscribe. And if it feels aligned and you're willing to, it means so much to me for you to leave a review. One, I love reading it. I love seeing what you have to say. And also it bumps up the podcast so that it can get it out in front of more people. So if you would just take a moment to go below, you just scroll below this episode and leave a review, that would mean so much to me. And I will see you next time on the Speak Your Truth podcast. Also, 2 things. Take a screenshot, post it on social media, share this episode with friends, share the love. That's part of what we do at Speak Your Truth is we share. And please know that your story, your message, and your truth are medicine to the people who need it most. It is not only an opportunity, but a responsibility to get it in front of them. All right, see you next time. Bye.